Hello my friends, so today something got leaked that could completely change League of Legends. Apparently Riot has been internally testing voice chat for SoloQ. Not just party voice, not just flex queue, actual ranked SoloQ voice chat. But we also need to understand that nothing is officially confirmed yet. But when stuff like this is getting leaked, then there's usually some truth behind it. And if this actually happens, SoloQ is going to never be the same again. Let me give you my honest opinion from a high elo perspective. Voice chat would completely change how the game is played. Right now, SoloQ feels like a 5-player playing 5 different games kinda. We communicate with pings, and pings are good, but they are limited, you know? You always get the restriction in your games as well. You can't explain a 20-second Baron setup with like any danger pings, you can't properly coordinate a dive or something with on my way pings because people will always be too late, and you definitely can't build a real synergy basically with jungle, mid lanes, support AD carry, stuff like this without actually talking, because then you would also need to ping your cooldowns more, stuff like this. When is my next combo up? When can we actually go in? In competitive, we use voice every single game, and I'm telling you, it's a complete different game. Macro becomes way better and cleaner, easier to play. Objective setups become more structured, invades are more coordinated, less random stuff. People are actually committing to playing together. In my opinion, if voice comes to solo queue, especially to high elo solo queue, the overall level of play will immediately go up. I'm not too sure how it will be like in lower divisions and if people will even like activate this, but for high elo this will for sure make a big difference. But as always, there's always a other side of this: toxicity. Trying to type some weird shit and people will completely abuse the voice chat. I'm not sure how Riot is planning to kind of get this under control, but I guess like in basically every other game you're playing, voice chat will have a big toxicity problem. Voice makes things way more personal, people tilt harder when they hear like a specific tone, but at the same time though, voice might actually reduce toxicity. It's way easier to flame someone when they are just like reading a text on screen, right? So when you hear actual person talking, maybe people are more calm, more chill, and are not flaming other people. And communication also creates accountability. So if you call something and it fails, you can't just silently blame someone else immediately, like people would do in chat or with specific pings. If you, for example, would have called into a specific fight, the fight fails, and then you are basically the one that is blaming the teammates for misexecution or something. In my opinion, another interesting point is that voice chat would actually add a new skill to climbing in general. Right now, climbing is mostly mechanics and basically everything that is like related to the game, obviously, but with voice, communication actually becomes a pretty important part of skill expression, because especially in team fights or like in high pressure situation, people tend to speak less, and now it can actually be a really big part of like one of your skills that you maybe have. So it can be a huge advantage for you, but it can also be a disadvantage for you. So it's, for example, in like shooters, you're often having IGLs, and now in League, if this is actually coming to life, shot calling would become way more important. It actually matters what you are saying, and explaining your plan becomes really valuable, aside from the fact that you could like only write and no one is really using the chat, and like pinging is always super messy. The big question is if Riot would even risk this, and I'm not too sure about this, because they've always been pretty careful about toxicity and all the changes they made in the past, but also planning to do in the future. So moderating voice is way harder than like just moderating a text, right? They would probably need some strong AI moderation or stuff like this. So here's basically my final take. For high elo, I think it's a great thing because people will try hard way more. It will be way more coordinated. You can basically play the game simply better. I think high elo can be, I don't know, maybe Master Plus, maybe Diamond Plus, but maybe also Emerald Plus, where people are actually trying to play the game and understand it. And maybe for lower elo, voice chat may maybe not even be that useful, but you can still combine your cooldowns together, call this kind of shit, and maybe it's even more fun to not sit in your room completely alone, but instead just speak to people that are maybe playing the same game that you are playing. So my question to you is, would you actually use it, or are you just muting the voice chat and still playing your own game? Feel free to leave me any sort of feedback if you have. Check out my coaching Discord if you're interested in that. Also my Patreon, and I'm wishing you a nice day. Goodbye.